comedy drama series starting tonight at 9.
The comeback kid. Against expectations, Hillary Clinton beats Barack Obama in the latest stage of the race to become the first female president of America.
Curing the killer bugs in our dirty hospitals. Now doctors are told to stop giving us antibiotics for coughs and colds.
And are we being ripped off by the banks who won't pass on interest rate cuts? I suspect we probably are, but let's not prejudge the issue. Tell you that's what we're talking about on the News Hour today, Wednesday the 9th of January 2008. Hello, good morning from me. You're watching the News Hour. It's just gone 6 o'clock. Also on the programme today, it's been confirmed that Kate and Jerry McCann are considering offers to make a documentary about their daughter Madeleine's disappearance. Email us your thoughts at gm.tv.
And our campaign for a new public holiday continues. Later, I'm going to make the case for a day devoted to the bard, William Shakespeare. Why not?
The Globe Theatre. That's where you've been, is it?
I have been to the Globe, yes.
OK. Look forward to that. Let's find windy day today, isn't it?
Very windy, particularly in the north. Overnight, we've seen one gust of 105 miles an hour, the most northerly point of Northern Ireland. And as you can see here, it's still windy out there. Some dangerous conditions, particularly across the Forth Valley, across the eastern side of Scotland, at least for the next few hours. And we are also seeing some rain and snow above around 300 metres. Elsewhere, it's a blustery start to the day, but at least there you'll be seeing some sunshine once the sun rises. And we're seeing a band of showers come in. The showers moving from west to east through the morning into the afternoon. As you can see in the north, those really strong winds head up to the Northern Isles. So I think I'd say temperatures struggling, but at least those winds easing just a little bit, only up to 5 or 6 degrees Celsius at the very best. I'll give you more details about the weather and those really bad winds in around 25 minutes, Kate.
OK, thanks very much indeed. Well, our top story this morning, the former American First Lady, Hillary Clinton, has won the New Hampshire primary, narrowly beating her Democrat rival and favourite, Barack Obama, to get the state's nomination to run for president. John McCain won the Republican primary with a substantial lead over runner-up Mitt Romney, I should say. Sarah Moore is in New Hampshire for us this morning. I went to bed thinking she hadn't done it, woke up to find she'd won.
Good morning, Kate. So did a lot of people. Nobody thought she would win. How things change in 24 hours. The polls were against her. Even her own campaign didn't think she could win. But Hillary Clinton pulled it out of the bag, and she has won tonight in New Hampshire. Now, as at the event earlier for her, as people were watching the results, people were very anxious at the start, knowing that she was lagging behind in the polls, up to 12 points behind Obama. But then the results started to come through, and they were ecstatic. They went crazy when the results were announced. Her husband Bill was there as well, and I caught him wiping a tear from his eye as he watched her give her victory speech. Now, it wasn't a huge win, but a very substantial win. She needed this win. They were shouting the comeback kid at her in reference to Bill's win back in 1992. He was called the comeback kid after a defeat in Iowa. He then pulled it out, got his campaign back on track in New Hampshire. But this is what Hillary had to say about her victory tonight.
I felt like we all spoke from our hearts, and I am so gratified that you responded. Now together, let's give America the kind of comeback that New Hampshire has just given me.
Well, there was another comeback as well. John McCain in the sequel again. He won, repeating his performance from New Hampshire back 8 years ago. He said it was something to do with staying in the same hotel, the same room, superstition, but it did him wonders all the same. Now the candidates will move on to the bigger states. They'll be having a look for wins in other states, and at the moment, it's an open race. It's anyone's game.
OK, thanks very much indeed.
Let's catch up on the rest of the news. Here's Marcella.
Thanks, John. Good morning. The Health Secretary, Alan Johnson, will announce today how he expects hospitals to spend £270 million set aside last year to help fight superbugs. Specialist staff, patient screening and deep cleaning are among the measures to be announced. Doctors will also be urged to stop prescribing antibiotics for coughs and colds, as it could be increasing people's immunity to the drugs for little benefit. Kate and Jerry McCann have denied reports that they're considering a movie about the disappearance of their daughter. They have said that talks about a documentary following the search of Madeleine have taken place. Miranda Shunker is in the McCann's hometown, Rothley. Good morning, Miranda.
Good morning, Marcella. Yes, no real reminders of Madeleine here in her home village of Rothley, but again, her story dominates the front pages. Maddie, the movie, on the front of the Sun, and on the Daily Mail, talk of a £2 million film deal, but also warnings of a public backlash. Now, no doubt, money of this nature would be helpful to the Find Madeleine campaign, but Jerry McCann, Madeleine's father, has been quick, as you say, to deny talk of a Hollywood movie in this sense. He has spoken more of a serious documentary looking at the issues that they have faced since Madeleine's abduction back in May. Well, this is all very early days on this score, and certainly no production would really go into operation while they are still suspects themselves. But all at the same time as this, the police investigation continues. It's understood now that formal moves are being made to re-interview the so-called Tapas 7, who are Kate and Jerry's friends, who were with them on holiday in Portugal at the time of Madeleine's abduction. Now, Portuguese authorities will oversee those interviews, but they will take place here in Britain with British police. And as far as we know, the couple welcome this interview process if it makes that they will be able to clear their name as soon as possible. Back to you.
Thanks, Miranda. Canoeist John Darwin and his wife Anne will appear in court in Hartlepool today to face deception charges related to Mr Darwin's disappearance. The couple have already been charged with dishonestly obtaining life insurance payments. Mr Darwin walked into a police station a month ago after being presumed dead since 2002. Investigations continue today into the cause of a fatal gas explosion at a house in Devon. 9-year-old schoolgirl Stephanie Hammercott was killed when she was hit by part of the wall blown out by the blast. Motorists who are found guilty of the new crime of causing death by careless driving could avoid jail under new proposals. The Sentencing Guidelines Council will recommend that the offence carries a community sentence in the least serious cases. If 2007 was a nasty year for the global economy, then 2008 isn't looking much better. According to new figures, consumer confidence is continuing to fall dramatically. High food and fuel prices mean many people are already pessimistic about a gloomy year. Julian Drucker reports.
We'd already been warned 2008 would be a tough year, but it's something we're feeling already, according to Nationwide's Consumer Confidence Index. The lower it slips below 100, the less confidence we have in the economy. And at its new level, it is the lowest for a year.
Probably what's hitting consumers' confidence most is food prices and petrol prices. We've seen oil reaching $100 a barrel, record levels, and that's going to hit the petrol pump. So all of those things together are making consumers feel a little bit more cautious.
And if you ask anyone, as we did, it is the same things causing that lack of confidence.
Certainly petrol prices, I commute in the car, so I mean obviously that's really pinching me.
Young professional trying to look to move out of home and get my own place, and it's a real worry.
The experts continue to play down a recession, but it's something many people are still unsure of.
And on our website this morning, find out why some home buyers would pay more to live in an area with good NHS access. And we reveal the secret to living a longer life. All that and more on our website, gm.tv. It's 6:08, back to Kate and John.
Thanks very much indeed. That story about Madeleine McCann, a potential film made about her disappearance on the front page of the Mail. As we heard there in the news, though, the parents, Kate and Jerry McCann, saying it's not going to be a Hollywood-style movie. It would be a documentary if it happens at all. Daily Mirror has this story. This is Stephanie Hammercott, who fortunately was killed by flying rubbish when the house that she just happened to be walking past had a gas leak in it. And as they say, if only she'd been late for school, if she'd gone another way, or if they'd found the gas leak. It's one of those awful if-only stories. The Sun, another sad story. This is Jeff Stewart, who plays Reg Hollis in the bill and has done for some 20-odd years. It appears allegedly here attempted to take his own life last night on the set of the bill. And the Daily Express, house prices up by 5.2%. Going to be talking about house prices and interest rates a bit later on.
Interesting story on the front page. The Daily Telegraph will pursue later, saying the government is asking nurses and doctors to stop giving antibiotics for coughs and colds because it's not helping the spread of illnesses like MRSA and C. difficile. The FT talks about the unions demanding a 7% pay rise, which will not please Gordon Brown. Picture there of Hillary Clinton, who we'll talk about in just a tick. If you're just joining us, shock victory in New Hampshire last night. Defiant Clinton hits back, an indication of that happening on the front page of The Guardian, whereas The Independent, miles behind, I'm afraid, Barack Obama's incredible journey. Got back the wrong horse there. And also The Times, Obama magic lures record number of votes. Well, it might have done, but he still lost.
It's great, isn't it, when you're working television on
Well,
occasions?
we can crow today being live. For once.
Briefly.
Newspapers don't always get it right.
OK, several of Britain's biggest banks stand accused of exploiting their customers this morning by not passing on last month's interest rate cuts. The Prime Minister, Gordon Brown, has waded into the row, warning lenders that they do have a duty to reduce rates for hard-pressed homeowners. Here's more detail from Julian Drucker.
Last month, the Bank of England cut the basic rate of interest by 0.25%, but this cut wasn't reflected by the banks. Instead, some slashed the interest rates on their savings accounts by more and cut their mortgage rates by less. So why would they seemingly not pass on interest rate cuts that could benefit customers already struggling under the credit crunch?
The reality of the story is that the rate of the Bank of England is indicative, and if that isn't what is available on the wholesale market, then it's not available on the wholesale market.
The accusation is strong from some. Are banks holding back the cut to increase profits? Or are many of them, as they are stressing, simply remaining competitive to protect all of their customers?
Right, well, the Bank of England decides again tomorrow if its interest rates, I should say, should be cut further. But not much use if those savings aren't being passed on. So joining us now is property and financial expert Louisa Fletcher from the News of the World. Good to see you this morning. So I think a lot of people are going to think this is all rather unfair, but are the banks actually doing anything wrong?
Well, I think there's two ways of looking at it. First of all, we're all guilty of thinking the same thing, that banks are going to do right by us. Well, they're not, quite frankly. They're all in business to make money. Now, I'm as guilty of that as the next person. I expect my bank to treat me fairly, and they don't. So it's on the consumer to make sure they're getting the best deal. On the flip side, we've seen people reclaiming bank charges. I'm sure you guys have been leading the charge on the campaign there for people to claim back the unfair charges. And the banks have to get that money back somewhere. So they've seen a crafty way of tucking a little bit of margin out, and basically they're hanging on in there because they've had to pay out thousands of pounds in charges, hundreds of thousands of pounds.
So how will this all affect us, and how can we make it work for us?
Well, I think pulling it back to the property market, where it's going to sit with mortgages, etc. Realistically,
yeah, there's a story here, isn't there, in Daily Express? I know they love their house prices stories,
yes, they do.
Up by 5.2%, they say. Who says there's a slump?
Wow.
Over a year.
Over a year.
Not today.
No, not
Don't
today.
sell your home today.
The housing market isn't all doom and gloom, as people have been saying. You know, we have seen some growth, which is better than none whatsoever. I think, though, the credit crunch, the fact that the banks are keeping this margin, they're not prepared to let go, they're not really prepared to help anybody out, is indicative of the fact it's going to be more difficult to get a mortgage. So if you're a first-time buyer, you really need to be very pragmatic about what you can and can't borrow. It's not going to be as easy as it was 2 or 3 years ago to get that 5 or 6 times income multiple. So really you need to have a chunky deposit there. If you're going into buy-to-let, again, the banks are very risk resistant, and it's probably one of the riskiest sectors. So again, you need to really be, clued up about what you're asking to borrow. If you're thinking about moving home, which, as we were saying earlier, a lot of people have bought plans forward now, consider this. Banks are not going to start, chopping out cheap rate mortgages again, and if you're on a fixed rate deal, then the likelihood is we're not going to see the bargains that were around last year before. So think about it, budget it in. Your mortgage is not going to be cheaper this year.
OK, all right. It's good advice. Thanks very much indeed. Good to speak to you.
OK, the time now 13 minutes past 6. George Bush will arrive in Israel today on his first ever visit to the region as president. The trip will be one of Israel's biggest ever security operations, and is aimed at getting the Middle East peace process back on track. The president left America last night and is due to land in Israel around lunchtime, our time today. Elaine Wilcox is in Jerusalem this morning awaiting his arrival. Elaine, very good morning to you. I imagine massive security in operation there today.
Yes, absolutely, John. The President will arrive here around lunchtime today. He'll be staying at that hotel, the King David Hotel behind me, and much of the roads will be closed when he arrives because of the risk of suicide bombers here. He did leave Washington last night very much in optimistic mood. He said that he was confident a detailed, comprehensive plan could be signed before he leaves Israel after his 3-day visit here. He's going to spend much time here in Jerusalem, and tomorrow he'll be talking to Palestinian leaders in the West Bank. And then he'll embark on a whistle-stop tour of the Middle East, taking in 5 Gulf states, and obviously the main focus